What up, you guys? Welcome to Holscher's Fantasy Huddle. Today I'm going to be going over how to play fantasy football and what fantasy football is. First, I want to explain how the scoring concept works. When the running back gets the football, he runs and collects stats. These stats are recorded in yards, and for typically every league, it's for every 10 yards you get 1 point for that. If a running back runs into the end zone with the ball, he gets 6 points for that touchdown. So for example, if a running back ended up with 80 yards and a touchdown on the game, he would have scored 14 points for that week. This is just one position you have. You have other ones such as wide receivers, which typically get the same thing. For every 10 yards, they get 1 point and 6 points for a touchdown. Same thing for tight ends. You also have quarterbacks who typically get, instead of for every 10 yards, they usually do every 25 yards because quarterbacks get a lot of passing yards. Now, quarterbacks also usually get only 4 points per touchdown because they get so many touchdowns in a year. For example, the most touchdowns a running back ever got in a season was 20, 21, I think, by LaDainian Tomlinson. And typically quarterbacks can get anywhere from 30 all the way up to the elites get 40. So that's why usually touchdowns are scored less for quarterbacks. You also have, in most leagues, a kicker and a team defense with their special teams. So anything like with their special teams or the defense that happens, you get points for that. Or you can lose points. Now that you know about the positions, let's talk about how to actually play the game. First, you need to find a group of awesome people. Then you need to have a draft. This can usually be done in person or online, but I will say doing it online is a lot easier to set up for usually everyone's schedule, and it's usually a lot more organized. The way the draft works is all the NFL players are put into a pool. You then set an order for your draft of each one of your league mates, and then you take turns. And the way the draft works is a little bit different from your actual professional drafts. It's a snake order. So for example, if you're in a 10-man league and you have the last pick, the 10th pick overall, that means you're gonna have the first pick in the second round. So that means you're gonna have the 11th overall pick as well. After you're done drafting your team, you then face each new member of your league in a week-to-week matchup. Once you're done with the draft, you'll then take your brand new team and face it off against the other managers who drafted. You usually face in a weekly contest, head-to-head. Whoever's team scores the most points that week wins that week. And then you have an overall standing record for the regular season. And then you enter the playoffs. Playoffs are still done in the regular season of the NFL. It's not gonna partake later on. If you're a good owner, you're gonna set the championship in week 16 of the NFL, because typically in week 17, a lot of teams are already locked in for the playoffs and they're benching their players, ruining the championship week of fantasy football. Now, I will say, once you start playing fantasy football, it is literally gonna make the game 10 times more interesting for you because you'll be playing a game inside of the game. It can make boring games seem amazing. Something like the Buffalo Bills versus the Detroit Lions. You might not really care about those teams, but you might have a player on them and you're watching them run the ball or catch it and they're scoring touchdowns, and it makes the game amazing for you. A lot of my league mates now in my main league didn't even really like football, but after they played fantasy, they were hooked. Now, there are a ton of different ways to set up the rules for fantasy football. This was just a general explanation of what fantasy football is for those who have no clue what it's about. There's a ton of different things you can do, such as keeper leagues, dynasty leagues, points per reception. You can do all kinds of crazy things out there with it, 100-yard bonuses. It's all up to however you want to build your league. So if you're looking to be a commissioner, you can set up however you want. Just make sure it's fair. To enjoy the game the most with fantasy football is you should do it with at least a couple friends that you know, or the entire league needs to be everybody, like all your group of friends or family. That makes it a lot more interesting. So if you played fantasy football in the past, but you didn't play with anybody you know, I guarantee you it's way better when you play with somebody you actually know rather than just a group of strangers. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below and I'll try to answer it for you. Hit that like or subscribe button. As always, I'm Chris Holscher, and I'll see you in the next huddle.